Here's the thing. When you have this big, hairy, audacious goal that you've put in front of your team, and then you hit it, you start to change the belief that you have in yourself. I do cold plunges all the time. Sitting in 40-degree water for 3 minutes, it sucks every single time. But when you do it and you start out, you're like, I'm not gonna be able to, I'm not gonna get it. And you stick it through. When that timer goes off and you get out, you're like, damn, I just did that. Now, when I put another challenge in front of me, you say, you know what? I've actually got a whole history of things that when it was challenging, when I was afraid, when I didn't think I was gonna make it, I did, and I became stronger for it. What else? This goal isn't just about the goal. This is about who you become by hitting the goal. The purpose of your vision, it's not necessarily that you achieve it. The purpose of your vision is who it causes you to be today.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this leadership episode of 30 Minutes to President's Club. We timed it. I'm ready. My name is Armand Farouk. I'm here with my co-host, Nick Skelski. And folks, the reason we took a deep breath is because we have one of the most amazing cultural leaders we've ever had on the show. His name is Alex Kremer. If you're not familiar with him, he is part of the Mark Cosaglow coaching family tree. He was one of the first leaders over at Outreach, where he led the #1 global sales team for multiple years in a row. He then led teams over at Catalyst as a director of sales, and now he's the founder over at Alluviance, where he is coaching reps, leaders all over the place to master the inner game of sales. And he's one of the few people that can make culture, mindset, and just how to culturally lead a team actually actionable. So Nick, why should people listen?
Well, right. As you know, at 30 MPC, we get extremely tactical, practical. And one of the problems with that is there's very, very few guests that can actually come on and teach breakdowns of how you impact like the culture and the connection and the soul and the work ethic of your sales team. And the reality is that probably means more than any given sales tactic that you might use. And so in this episode, Alex takes us through all of the different places and techniques and things that he does to impact the culture and the heart and the soul of his team. Everything from how he runs his team meetings and sort of the unconventional way that he starts them, to what he does in his one-on-one meetings with reps, to what he does when he thinks he has someone who might be a flight risk.
Alrighty, Alex, welcome back to the Leadership Show. We start every show with your top 3 actionable takeaways. Let's get your 3.
Number 1, presencing before the team meeting. You can do this in many different types of ways. You can do breath work, you can do stretching, you can do a gratitude practice. But my favorite is box breath here. Box breath, essentially, this is how it works. You will bring presence to your team. You'll say, hey, listen, I know you've had a lot of meetings before this. I know you've got meetings coming after this. But how we start this team meeting will set the tone for how everybody else engages, and you really want them to be there. What box breath is you bring everybody into their presence and you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold for 4 seconds. Now you can do that for 1 round, you can do that for 2 rounds. My sweet spot is always 3 rounds. And really what it's going to say to your team, stop looking at Slack, stop looking at your email, exit out of LinkedIn, and come down here and be with your crew.
I just exited out of my LinkedIn, and I'm now calm, and I'm ready for your second takeaway.
Number 2 is get others on your team speaking up. The best and easiest way to kill your team meeting is you as the manager are talking the entire time. I do this in 2 different types of ways. Number 1, I actually assign black belts on my team. So really what we'll do is there will be 1 person who's in charge of how are we tracking pipeline. There will be 1 person on our team who's in charge of any marketing initiatives. There will be 1 person on our team who's in charge of being the liaison between product and any updates that we have there. And every single time in our team meeting, when we get to that particular component, they will be sharing. Right? And then other reps on the team can go to them if they have any questions. What this will also allow you to do is to make it so that your team and the individuals feel like they're more than just a sales rep trying to hit quota. You're empowering them to be more a leader on the team. Second thing that I always do is the skill up level call. This is every single Friday where a rep will be on there and run a call that's either, hey, we want to listen to how I did this discovery call or this demo. Hey, I want to walk you through an account plan I have and for you to give me coaching on it. Maybe there's a rep who does a really good job at demoing. I might actually work with that person to share and to teach the team on how they're demoing. Again, the whole goal for you as leader is make other leaders on your team.
As long as Nick is not the one doing the demo. What's number 3?
Number 3 is how I structure my one-on-ones. I do this what's called people, pipeline, and big bets. The biggest problem I see for managers is they go on to a one-on-one with the rep and say, what do you want to talk about? You need to have a structure and a repeatable framework that then you can play within that framework. It gives the reps a certain sense of safety and certainty. So people is, hey man, how are you doing? How's your heart? How's your vision? Are you feeling excited with what we're doing here? Is there mental health struggling? Let's really make sure that we acknowledge, how are you doing? The second part is your pipeline. This is how are you actually hitting your KPIs? How many meetings are you booking? How are the account plans that you're creating and breaking into this, right? We're always going to be tracking whatever KPI you're looking for, whether it be cold calls made or maybe it's meetings booked or any key accounts you're going into. The third one is your big bets. Now, you will be going over, hopefully, all of the deals in your pipeline in a pipeline one-on-one. This is different. This is saying, hey, you've got 2 or 3 big deals that if we close these things, we're doing well this quarter. And so this is where we're going to get more strategic on it. What's the problem we're trying to solve here? How are we getting multi-threaded? Do we have any key risks that we're going? When are we going on site, right? This is to actually roll up our sleeves and look into this. So people, pipeline, and big bets.
Before you even take me into the structure, can I actually ask about like how did you introduce it to the team in the first place? Because I bet we have folks listening who are like, I want to do this, but we haven't been, and it's going to be weird if I just show up and I'm like, we're doing this thing.
It actually started when I had one of my coaches challenge me. I was doing retreats, I was getting coaching, all this sort of stuff on the side. And then during the day, I was the tech sales guy, the tech sales leader. And he said, Alex, when are you going to combine these 2 different versions of you into just one single person? And he said, what's one thing you can do to that? And I was like, you know what? I've been doing so much breath work and meditation on my own. What if I brought that to my team? And I shared exactly that with
Yeah.
my team. Hey guys, I feel like I'm one person to you, and when I'm not at work, I'm a different guy. And I really want to just wake up and say, I'm just going to be Alex Kremer here, and this is what you get, right? And so I really brought a level of authenticity and vulnerability of just being like, hey, I'm going to be my authentic self. And it was an invitation to them to do the exact same thing. And it set the tone on the team of, oh, we don't need to wear the mask. We don't need to wear the armor. Let's just be raw and real of who we really are.
After we do this initial breathwork session, walk me through what happens through the rest of your team meeting.
Team meetings I loved because they are sacred. If you are not putting thought and effort into your team meeting and you're just making it a check the box thing, you need to reprioritize how you're thinking about it. Because the only time for the majority of leaders during the week where you actually have everybody's attention, the first thing I will usually do is I'll share something that's top of mind, whether it's my why. It's like something that's in depth, right? Bring some heart, bring some wisdom, bring some meaning to what you're doing. It does not need to be long. It could be freaking 15 seconds, but just bring a level of, I'm more than just trying to hit our quota here. I'm also trying to make this a really powerful culture, right? So that's the first thing. For me this morning, so I run a sales team right now as part of Alluviance. And this morning I said, hey guys, I was working out this morning and I was thinking about 2 or 3 of the members who are in our community and the change that I've actually seen in their life since they joined us. And it just made me feel really proud. And it made me feel really excited that there's more potential people out there for us to go get meetings with and for us to potentially change their lives. So I'm just going to say that of let's get after it this week. So simple.
So, dude, you're actually connected to your badass cause. If you guys don't know, Alex runs this organization called Alluviance, and they do all types of amazing things to help sales reps and other professionals master the inner game of sales, whether it's retreats, immersions, what have you. What if I sell cybersecurity software? I'm like, we're gonna bash a lot of bugs this week, guys. It's gonna be a good week.
You have to connect the dots to what is the true impact that you're making. And sometimes you need to actually pull that thread a little bit more, right? I'll give an example, and maybe it's not the cybersecurity, but I'll give an example to outreach, right? It wasn't just a fact of we need to sell more sales engagement platforms to X, Y, and Z companies. We said, cool, if we do that, what's going to happen? The reps who use our platform, they will be more effective at their role. That probably means that they'll be more effective at being able to hit their quota. And we all know that when you hit more quota, what do you feel? You feel more purpose, you feel more confident, you feel more aliveness. How does that mean then you show up at home? You probably show up at home, right? More excited, right? You can probably buy your family things. You can take your partner out on a really cool vacation, right? Let's remember those people that we are impacting. And again, that took like 2 or 3 or 4 kind of pull the thread to talk about who is the end user that we are impacting and how are we making their life better, right? Cybersecurity, man, we're making people feel safer. When you feel safer, you can be more relaxed. When you feel more relaxed, you can show up better with whoever it might be, right? And sometimes it takes like, let's really remember who it is that we're serving.
Alex, you've talked a lot about it's not enough to just do pipeline reviews and land your deals on time. There's this hidden magic that happens when you're not looking, when the reps feel like they're attached to a leader or a team that has a vision. I wrote down a couple different levels of vision or meaning. So the first is what you described, which is meaning in your work, right? So you're doing very meaningful stuff at Alluviance. If I was working for a nonprofit, that would be very meaningful work. And the work alone is enough to derive vision and meaning from it. The second level up is another one that you described, which is at outreach. There's a lot of personal meaning. So if the team succeeds, that means a lot for the individual. Maybe that helps that person buy a car. Maybe that helps that person send their kids to school. When I was selling insurance, we would do these things called design statements, and they would have you
Mhm.
build out like what hitting a certain premium goal this year would allow you to do in your personal life for your kids, for your family, or for yourself, for the people around you. So that's the personal meaning. But then the third one is in sales teams, if you can find a way to give your team company meaning. At Pave, one of the things that was really helpful for us is we would paint this like against all odds narrative where we would be looking down the barrel of like a ridiculous revenue goal. And we would tell this story around how there's no reasonable reason any single sales team in the world should be able to hit that goal, but we're going to be the crazy mothers who actually hit that goal. And that alone created this like crazy locker room feeling where people were ready to run through a wall and jump head over heels. So I don't know what it is for whoever's listening right now, but find some way to get your reps fired up about either the work they're doing, around what it means for them personally, around how they can be attached to a company or team goal. And that will get people doing the right things in their deals because they're actually sprinting, they're not dragging their feet.
Here's the thing. When you have this big, hairy, audacious goal that you've put in front of your team, and then you hit it, what else becomes possible, right? Because here's the key thing. When you put this thing in front and you end up doing it and crushing it, what changes? The identity that you start to show up. You start to change the belief that you have in yourself. I've talked about this before, but I do cold plunges all the time. We do cold plunges at our retreats all the time. Sitting in 40-degree water for 3 minutes, it sucks every single time, even when I still do it today. But when you do it and you start out, you're like, I'm not gonna be able to, I'm not gonna get it. And you stick it through, when that timer goes off and you get out, you're like, damn, I just did that. Now, when I put another challenge in front of me, you say, you know what? I've actually got a whole history of things that when it was challenging, when I was afraid, when I didn't think I was going to make it, I did and I became stronger for it. What else can I do? Right. So I love that. It's like this goal isn't just about the goal, this is about who you become by hitting the goal. The last thing I'll say is the purpose of your vision, it's not necessarily that you achieve it. The purpose of your vision is who it causes you to be today. What's that version of you that could hit the goal? What time do they wake up? How do they commit to becoming a better sales professional? How do they treat their partner? What do they put in their body? Do they work out right? Let's actually start to understand what's that version of me like and how do I essentially embody that today and know and trust. As long as I embody that, I'm going to get to where I'm trying to go or open up doors I did not even know was possible.
So after you do the initial vision or the wisdom, what do you transition into next?
I'll do shout outs. And the key thing that I like to do for the shout outs is just be like, hey, who had a great week of pipeline? Who closed a big deal? Sometimes I'll actually give a shout out to somebody who lost a deal, but they showed up really strong and they did as best they could. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to share more about what they did or why they did it or what they learned from it. Get your team speaking. So shout outs is number one. Then I'm going to talk about the key things that I always need to as leader, right? I'm talking about, hey, what's our revenue goal? How are we tracking to it? What does that mean that we need to hit from a revenue pacing perspective this week, this month, whatever it might be. Then always I talk about pipeline. You're not talking about pipeline in every single one of your meetings. You're doing it wrong. Here's the thing though. Do not have a new metric every single week. If you want to be tracking cold calls, awesome. Do that every single week. If you want to be tracking meetings booked, awesome. Do that. If you want to be talking about how big of a pipeline you have, awesome. Do that every single week. Because if you show a specific dashboard and a person is at the bottom of that dashboard every single week, they're going to be like, okay, I got to not be at the bottom of this. But if you show a new dashboard every single week and sometimes at the top, sometimes at the bottom, they can't win, right? You want to be consistent there. After that, we'll go and do any key updates, marketing initiatives, product updates, anything like that. And then my last is like, what's going on with the team? And this is where I will usually invite specific people to share, hey, any personal updates, any key deal updates, right? This is the variable that like, what do we want this meeting to be about, y'all?
What's going on, folks? There are literally only two things that you need to nail as a salesperson if you want to make it to President's Club. The first is your ability to fill your calendar up with meetings and create new pipeline, aka prospecting. The other thing you have to nail is your ability to drive those deals to close. And since you've made it this far in the video, I've got a gift to help you do both of those things. If you use the code YouTube at 30mpc.com/courses, you'll actually get $50 off our two best courses to help you nail both the creation of pipeline and the closing of pipeline. The first course is called Cold Calls to President's Club, and in that course, we teach you what to do, what to say, and how to sound in every single part of a cold call, from your call opener to how you pitch, to how you overcome objections, to voicemails and gatekeepers, and more. The second course is our discovery course, which is focused on how to sell in a way that doesn't feel like selling. And in that course, we teach you how to uncover massive 6- and 7-figure business problems that companies actually want to pay to solve. And we'll teach you the way to structure your calls. We'll teach you the questions to ask. We'll teach you how to get to the decision maker and drive timeline and make discovery something that you know how to do effortlessly. And again, if you go to 30mpc.com/courses or go to the link below and use that code YouTube, you'll get $50 off any of the courses. I will see you at President's Club. You mentioned it earlier. You talked about re-enrolling your team in like the vision and mission of the company. What do you do when you have someone who, assuming you want to keep this rep, you're like, this is someone who's like a valuable member of our team. We want them on this team. But you feel like they're drifting, they're pulling away, you think they might be looking for another job, they're in a slump. What do you do when someone's not enrolled and not where you know they need to be?
I had this with our top rep when I was at Catalyst, and he'd been there for a while. And, he was a natural leader on the team, and I could tell that his energy was just like, whatever, I'm just going to be here, try to get mine, and maybe he was looking for another job. And I had a one-on-one with him, and I called it out. I was like, hey, listen, you're a top rep here. What's most important is that when you speak, people listen. There's certain times where I feel like I don't know how to coach you because I don't know what you want. If you're okay with it, I like to take the guard down here because I want to make sure you're happy and fulfilled and you're getting the results. What do you want? What would actually make you feel like you're at that 10 out of 10? I freaking love this. And what would make you feel like I got to get the hell out of here? We talk about this all the time when we're teaching salespeople at Alluviance. It's like, if you spot it, you like share it. We try to put on this bravado. We try to like manipulate and like try to skirt around the bush. Call it the frick out. You're a top rep here and I'm not feeling you in like you want to. And I want to get you to where you're feeling a 10 out of 10. What do we have to do? Is it me? Is it you? Is it this company? You tell me. Create a level of just like safety of a container. It's like, let's just drop into what's real here.
I think it's the biggest flaw that we have in our show. Some ways, I think it's one of the things that Armand and I talk about sometimes. We're like, we really, really focus on like the actionable tactic. What's the skill you're going to do? And I think we both know that so much of it is like some of the in more intangible stuff that you've talked about. Like, does the team believe? Do they believe that you care about them? It's like the culture, it's the tenor, it's the feeling. And there's very few people, Alex, you're one of them, who can actually like talk about it in a practical, tactical way. So I guess one more question for you before we move to the final cue. You've talked about a lot of things to like get the team bought in, feel like everybody can bring their full self. You're bringing your full self. Are there other places that you're doing this that are notable that we didn't talk about? We talked about the team meeting, the one-on-one, we talked about the departure conversation. Are there other like big moments where this comes up?
With my boss. I have two bosses in particular who I greatly respected. Mark Kosklo, who both you
Mhm.
guys know, who was a speaker on this or a host on this, and then a guy named David Rubenstein, who used to be an executive at Salesforce. Both of those guys coached me to be a better sales leader and a sales professional than really anybody in my entire life. They believed in me. They believed in Alluviance even before it was a thing. They trusted in me. But the thing that they really allowed was for me to coach up. I was able to give them direct feedback. I was able to tell them when they were coming too hard and they were focusing too much on the numbers. I was able to tell them when they were having a new flavor of the week, right? And it created this deeper level of trust that I felt safe as the leader with my boss.
Mhm.
And therefore, when I felt safe upwards, therefore I felt more confident and safer going downwards. Right. But that takes two to tango. It takes a certain level of like, there's so many sales leaders that's like, listen to me, do what I say. And if you don't believe in what I say, get the hell out. You want to talk about burning a bridge or losing creativity. That's the easiest way to do it. But I call it dynamic leadership. How do you make it so that you, as the leader, are allowing yourself to be led by the people who you are the manager for? Right. And sometimes the easiest way to allow others to lead is for them to coach you, right? Sometimes the easiest way for you to be led and to empower your team into their leadership is for you to bring a deeper level of vulnerability and authenticity about ways that you're struggling, about ways that you're questioning, about ways that, man, I'm just working my ass off. I was talking to the sales leader the other day, and he's like, man, I'm really tired. I was like, does your team know? He's like, I would never tell my team I'm tired. I was like, huh, why? It's like we think as sales leaders, we're required to have this armor, this mask of I'm great and I'm always great and I'm always so enrolled into the vision of this company and all this sort of stuff. And if you are, tell me what your diet is, because that's just not what it is. I started a company 2 years ago that's coming from my freaking soul and my heart, and I feel so much purpose with it. And I doubt it. I get burnt out. I question it. Right. And so it's just the human experience. And when you, as the sales leader, both upwards and downwards, can just like be like, man, it's not always awesome. And sometimes it's actually a lot less than bad. Let's call it that. And that's okay. And you're going to invite other people into their leadership. And it's going to create this group dynamic where they're like, damn, I'll fight for this guy. I'll fight for this woman.
Every time you get on this show, I'm dead serious. I leave feeling super fulfilled and energized from these recordings because I actually feel like we connect with you and we talk about the real human beings that are leading the sales floor. And that's what actually helps people lead teams the right way. So we have to move to the final question. And I'll put a slight twist on it for you, which is we talked about a lot of good habits that sales can exhibit when creating culture on their sales team. But what is the biggest cultural mistake that a sales leader can make that sets teams back a couple of notches?
Can I give two?
Yeah.
Number one, you make it all about money. Now, that's not meant to say don't think about money. Most people are in sales because they want to make a shit ton of money, right? I want to have that 500K year. I want to hit that 7-figure year or whatever it is that you're trying to go for. That's important. And it's not all about that, especially right now in 2025, as we're going closer to 2030, as millennials and Gen Zers are becoming more in the workforce. People want meaning and they want community and they want to make a shit ton of money, right? So just, bring in this flavor of how do you give people a level of fulfillment and purpose? The way that you do that as a sales leader is you coach people how to be better at their tactics and you coach them how to be a better version of themselves. That's the first one. The second one, don't forget to coach your top reps. In fact, coach them freaking hard. I think I even said this on a previous podcast that I was with you guys. I remember watching The Last Dance, and one of the coaches said about Michael Jordan, the biggest respect that you can give to the best player in the world, you coach him freaking hard, because you don't want him just to be great. You want him to be extraordinary, right? And so don't forget those top reps on your team that are hitting 100% plus of quota. They still got a lot of work to do. And if you forget them, they're going to say, I'm too good. I'm looking elsewhere. I want to be growing better. So coach your top reps hard.
For anyone still listening, we're going to put a couple Easter egg questions here in the back of the episode, so have fun with these. What is the number one hiring mistake a sales manager can make?
You hire someone who has just the right experience. And what I mean by that is I want somebody more than anything who's hungry, who's got grit, who wants to freaking get after it. That beyond anything is going to make my job a hell of a lot easier, because you can teach people stuff. You can teach people the product, the industry, whatever it might be. You cannot teach people how to be hungry. And if you're only hiring based on experience or what their resume says, you're going to hurt the culture of your team.
What is the number one sales interview question you can ask a rep?
My number one interview question for a sales rep is, what's your mission statement? Because I'm actually trying to understand a deeper level of the why. And also what I'm trying to understand there is their emotional intelligence. Do they actually go deeper than they know how to say the right things and answer the right things and do exactly what I'm actually trying to get them to say, are you self-aware? Do I actually connect with you? Do I feel a sense of meaning and purpose in what you're saying? Right? I can ask the questions about what's your quota attainment, how do you think about pipeline, what do you do, how to multi-thread, all that sort of stuff. And that's just like check the box, check the box, check the box. What people can't prepare for is let me freaking feel you. Because if I can feel you, your prospects are going to feel you.
If I'm an SDR and I want to get promoted to AE, what are you looking for as a sales manager?
Do the job already. Number one, hit your quota. Number two, start to get coached by an account executive. Start practicing disco and mock calls with them. Number three, start talking to all the different managers of the different segments. Account executive sales leader, talk to the solution consultant sales leader, talk to the marketing sales leader, talk to the demand gen sales leader, all these different people, and ask them this question. I'm here to share with you all the reasons why I can be great at this job, but what's most important for me here is, what do you look for in an account executive who steps into this role that would be most beneficial for you? And really, I just allow them to start talking it up, and I say, cool, and I can ask follow-up questions and give my little pitch at the end. But the last question I'll always ask is, I'm about to go for this position, and when it's time to give your recommendation on whether or not you think I'd be a good fit, you think you can raise your hand and say, I think he'd be great? Are you open to that? Your first deal you will ever sell is getting multi-threaded within your organization, why you should be closing the deal of moving into this account executive position.
Last one for you. What is the number one thing that makes a great sales leader?
They're doing work on themselves. They're committed to their journey. They're always committed to becoming a better sales professional themselves. They're committed to mean what it means to be a great sales leader. They're committed to actually stepping in to a deeper level of inner work within themselves to feel a level of vision. What a great sales leader is in 2025 is a lot different than what it was in 2018, right? A great sales leader is committed to the craft and their own inner work themselves, because when you do that, you're naturally going to be able to coach people. You're naturally going to be able to make people a better seller, because you first are embodying it yourself. You can only take somebody as far as you've gone yourself. So do the work on yourself. That's what makes the best sales leader.
Alex, amazing show. Everyone hang on for a 60-second recap coming up soon. Alrighty, Nick, it's time for a 2x2 recap from this episode with Jason Bay. What do you have for your two?
So my first one was a really powerful quote that he shared, which is, the purpose of your vision is who it causes you to be today. The way that I thought about that was, your vision or your rep's vision informs the actions that you take right now, because those actions are designed to bring you towards what that vision you see is. So really powerful quote. I liked that one. My other takeaway was, Almost every quarter, Alex is asking his reps some version of the question, like, why are you at this job or why are you at this company? Not to push them away, but to understand what's their why, what's their commitment, what's their level of enrollment with their current employment working with you.
The 5-part framework to run a team meeting without losing your soul. Start with breathwork number 1, then wisdom/vision number 2, shoutouts number 3, track revenue number 4, and then pipeline and KPIs. The tactical stuff is at the end. And then lastly, number 4, nominate black belts for different disciplines of skills and then have them run the trainings. And I promise you 9 times out of 10, your reps will listen more. The reps who are teaching the stuff will learn the stuff better, and you will spend less time training and more time leading from the front. Alrighty, folks. Nick, how should people help us out?
So if you like that little Easter egg where Armand asked Alex a bunch of those questions, we're doing a lot of those with our guests. We're going to stitch them all together on our Instagram. And so if you're looking for more 30 MPC goodness, go check us out on Instagram. You'll see more of those stitch clips. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the show.